What's up, readers? We're back with Higurashi when they cry, Tatarigoroshi. Hey Sketch, how you doing, bro? Last we left off, uh, Satoko wasn't at school, and Oishi grabbed us very tightly. Lurking? No problem, bro. Alright, continue. What's up, Brad? Oh, the creepy music starts. Oh, heck. Can't wait to see my favorite character, Satoko. Dude, maybe, but not in the way you'd like, you know? Is Hojo-san staying home today too? Furude-san, do you know anything? Ryuji's voice wasn't critical, but Rika-chan hung her head, unable to answer, and I felt really bad for her. Teacher called Rika-chan up, and they had an exchange in hushed tones at the dice? First, Rika-chan said that Satoko's fever had gotten worse, but everyone in class knew it was a lie. Because every day, Rika-chan brought Satoko's bento with her. Satoko-chan, I wonder what happened. Don't ask me. I'm the one who wants to know most of all. It's already the third day since Satoko's first absence. Oh, heck! The third day? Oh, Jesus Christ. So she really is like... Hold on. She really is completely missing by now. Ever since then, I haven't felt good. Until just last Sunday, everything had been so much fun. I'd reached out to Satoko like a real older brother, and we spent that time quietly, but warm and comfortable. Why had it suddenly been flipped over? The more I thought about it, game's a bit loud. Alright. There we go. Hopefully that's a little better. Satoko, I'm a head out. The more I thought that the world had taken a turn for the worse ever since Oishi arrived. Thinking on it now, maybe the strange apprehensions plaguing me the night before Oishi arrived had been a sign. Kurao Oishi, Oyashiro-sama's servant. Shit, that's impossible. Can't decide Satoko will be the curse victim this year just because he showed up. What sort of slip-up I had committed had caused those fun times to end so suddenly? Yes, it was the day before Oishi appeared. Chion, Mion, and Rena had spoken of the curse surrounding Satoshi and his disappearance. It was so sinister that it gave me a bad premonition. Such a small thing was the slip-up. I had invited Oyashiro-sama's servant. It was absurd. I kept on groaning to myself that I would never accept it. Ever. I obviously wasn't the one suppressing my feelings. The only one suppressing my feelings. Mion and Rena were too. Everyone in the class was doing it. Rika-chan knew something about Satoko's situation. She wouldn't tell us. Rika-chan still held a calm attitude, like a cat basking in the sun. She was being unbelievably stubborn about this whole thing. She didn't want to tell us, and that wouldn't change no matter how many times we asked her. Everyone understood that, so nobody questioned her. Rika-chan won't talk, then we'll just have to wait. And she might not be talking because it's something not worth saying. There's no persuasive power and reassurance given with an anxious face like that. Reno's being taciturn? Taciturn? What kind of word is that? And just looked up at the sky with a somehow annoyed expression. Couldn't tell if she was unhappy that Rika-chan wouldn't talk about it with her own friends, or if she was concerned over Satoko's well-being. And what about me? My anxiety was suffocating me day after day. If somebody else were looking at me, then maybe I'd look annoyed like Mion did. Tap tap. Someone tapped my shoulder. Who's Tomita-kun and Okamura-kun? My bar-san, do you have a minute? Did your ball get stuck again? You guys have to get it yourselves this time. Don't rely on the older kids for everything. I didn't feel like going along with them, so I was a little unsympathetic with my response. Tic-tac. Taciturn. Ah. We heard an interesting little interesting rumor. A rumor? Yeah. I just thought it might have something to do with that. A rumor? About Satoko. They hadn't said that, but it didn't seem unrelated. They didn't want to talk in the classroom, so they pulled me behind the school building, lending further credence to that thought. The back of the school was damp and humid like always. Students didn't really come back here because they wanted to. Might, however, have been the ideal location for trading rumors away from prying eyes. Tomita-kun, Okamura-kun? These rumors, they're about why Satoko's absent, right? We don't know if it has something to do with it, though. Or maybe. What on earth happened to Satoko? Is she sick? Or could she be, like, really sick or injured or something? No, actually, the opposite. I heard my grandma saying that she came to buy tofu at our shop yesterday. Oh, Tomita-kun's family runs a tofu shop, added Okamura-kun. She went shopping? To buy some tofu? My voice sounds so stupefied, even I can tell. It was understandable. I was worried about what grave illness or injury she had when the person herself had been out and about shopping for tofu. So how was she? Did she look okay? Was she wearing a mask like she was getting better? Or was she using crutches, or did she have bandages on her? No, there wasn't really any signs of sickness or injuries on her, but I should have felt relieved that it wasn't an illness or an injury. But my anxiety wasn't going away, because Tomita-kun and Okamura-kun's expressions weren't looking any better. He apparently came to buy one piece of soft tofu, but my grandma said it was strange. Strange? Why? What's wrong with buying soft tofu? Irritated by how roundabout they were being, I had to desperately fight that irritation from creeping into my voice. Well, Hojo and Furude live by themselves, and they don't have much money, right? So they only ever buy the cheaper, firmer type kind of tofu. I never bought the soft stuff. It's the most expensive thing there. Soft or hard, they're both tofu, right? Maybe she just wanted to eat some great tofu or something. Well, maybe, but I knew transparent I sounded right then. It wasn't anything trivial. It was some kind of important clue. A clue! Not the cheap firm tofu, but the expensive soft kind. Shopping not in the evening after school, but in the middle of the day. Couldn't figure out what those things meant. I thought hard about it. Okamura-kun took his turn to speak. Me next. This is just a rumor, but apparently he's back. He? Who? Who's back? Hojo's uncle. Satsuko's uncle. Right, that I think Coach told me about him. Their aunt and uncle had taken them in after Satsuko and Satoshi lost their parents in the accident. Hojo's uncle. They say he skipped town last year, scared of Yashida-sama's curse. It was really scary and violent, like a gang member. I think Coach told me. Came back in bits and pieces. Right. The mean aunt and uncle had tormented them all the time. I think he said that after their aunt was beaten to death by the deviant, he ran away to his lover's house in Okinomiya in fear of the curse. Why would she be staying home from school and shopping for soft tofu in the middle of the day just because her uncle came back? Underclassmen clammed up and looked downwards. Must have been some big hint buried in there. Think! Satoshi? Not Satoshi. Keiji. Think! Even if I didn't understand, I told Mion and Rena about it. Maybe they'd know something. Oh, my bad, you two. You were nice enough to talk about it, and I started hammering you with questions. Oh, no, it's okay. Now we know that she hasn't been in bed this whole time gravely ill. That's worth something, right? Didn't we learn that Uncle got some money from the Yakuza? Oh! If that's true, then it kind of makes sense. Yeah, so he's staying home and making Satoko shop. Yeah, yeah. That might be true. But it still won't make the clouds over my mind fade away. Ah, Mawaibara-san, over there. Okumura-kun cried wildly, pointing over my shoulders behind me. Startled, I turned around, and way on the other side of the school yard, near the school gate, I saw a figure trotting forth. Ah! Hey! Satoko! It's Hojo! I burst into a run faster than I could speak. So that, as quickly as possible, I could see with my own eyes that she was okay. Satoko! Satoko seemed taken aback by me shouting and running over to her.
Oh, my, what is it, Keiichi-san? You surprised me with all that yelling and running.
Stupid, enough about me already. 3 days, what happened, Satoko? I was so worried.
Oh ho 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 ho. What a worrywart. It was only 3 days. You're such a worrywart, Keiichi-san.
From listening to her, she seemed like the normal Satoko, but I could tell she was clearly acting strangely. Her smell was somehow forlorn, and her complexion was bad for some reason. Hojo! Were you alright? Were you sick or something? Komoto-kun and Okumura-kun both expressed their concerns. Just what happened anyway? 3 days! You know how worried I was?
Oh, I do so apologize. I was just giving the house a good cleaning. We haven't used it for a rather long time, so everything was covered in dust.
Huh? Satoko, what are you talking about? Why would you have to stay home from school to clean the house? Of course, because Uncle would making her. Satoko didn't answer me. Instead, she passed by me and headed for the entrance.
Gosh, it is nearly about lunchtime, is it not? I am just starving.
It was certainly lunch break. I couldn't force her to stop after she told me she wanted lunch since she was so hungry. Well, whatever. Rika-chan's been bringing her lunch for 3 days now. You look like you can eat it. You look like you can eat it today. Let's just go to the classroom and put everyone's mind at ease.
You're right. I suppose I may have caused everyone to worry. Oh ho ho ho. It sure is tough being popular.
Put a hand on Satoko's shoulder and we ran to the classroom together. Up close, I was able to verify that Satoko looked somehow weak. This anxiety was supposed to go away when I saw her again. What I had thought. But now I actually started to have quite different fears. What the heck happened, Satoko? Everyone in the class, of course, reacted in the same way I had. We worried about you. I'm glad to see you well. What were you doing for 3 days? Classmates showered her in questions.
I truly do apologize for causing a fuss. Oh ho 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 ho.
As she cackled, she chowed down on the bento Rika-chan had made for her. Those in the teacher's lounge must have informed of Satoko's arrival because our teacher sprinted into the classroom, her breathing ragged. Hojo-san!
Oh, Sensei. I'm sorry for worrying you these 3 days. Oh ho ho. As you can see, I'm fit as a fiddle.
Oh my god, Satoko. I was very worried about you. When you're done eating, come right to the teacher's lounge. I have a lot to talk to you about.
I must be in for a good scolding for those 3 days I cut class. Oh ho ho ho.
Satoko laughed sheepishly while she scratched her head, and the rest of the class burst out into laughter. Teacher was acting angry, but she breathed a sigh of relief at seeing Satoko healthy and smiled as she ate her lunch with the class surrounding her. What a relief, right, Rena?
Huh? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm glad she's okay.
Looked at Rena and knew. She had a sense that something about Satoko was off, too. Looked to see Mion detached from the clamor as well, with somewhat grim expression. But Rika-chan, on the other hand, was smiling from ear to ear. She spread out the bento boxes one by one as Satoko finished them. Finally, Satoko was satisfied, and after enjoying a thorough conversation with her classmates, remembered that she had been called to the teacher's lounge.
It's such a pain, but I think she'll be angrier if I don't go. I'll go with you.
Satsuko rises from her seat, but Riki-chan runs over to her.
I do apologize, Keiichi-san. I'll be right back after getting scolded.
Right. I mean, I could go with you too. We're all comrades getting scolding from the teacher's lounge ever since the curry incident, right?
That won't be necessary. Keiichi should mind the place while we're away.
Riki-chan's words were gentle. Oh, that's Rika.
That won't be necessary. Keiichi should mind the place while we're away.
Riki-chan's words were gentle, but firm rejection was clear in her eyes. Two of them exited into the hallway, walking shoulder to shoulder. After seeing them off, the class breathed a collective sigh of relief, broke apart, and went back to the usual lunch break banter. We, however, couldn't go back to how we usually were. This reminds me of Corpse Party. You haven't even seen the worst of it. Sus. Not I, not Mion, and of course, not Rena. They stared at the classroom exit Satsuko and Riki-chan had left through, their expressions a little distant and grim. We're all friends. Isn't that right? I blurted out something strange, so Mion and Rena turned around with dubious expressions. I won't keep anything from my friends. So I'll tell you what I just heard a little while ago. I told them the stories I heard from Tomoto-kun and Okumura-kun earlier about the tofu shop and how Satsuko's uncle had apparently come back. All at once, without letting them speak. And that's all I know. So if either of you knows anything, please say so. I've said everything I can. I ended my sentence firmly and looked into Mion and Rena's eyes in turn. Rena stared right back at me. Her eyes didn't falter. Without ever even opening her mouth, I could tell she wasn't hiding anything. Then our gazes turned to Mion. It's not like I was trying to keep it a secret or anything. Mion couldn't seem to endure our silent stares and began to talk timidly, as if she was guilty of something. It's just, now that you've said something, Kei-chan, I guess I have to talk about it.
Mi-chan? You know something?
Well, I mean, I knew from the first day that Satsuko's uncle had come home. But he just randomly showed up at the Hidemizawa last Sunday. Why didn't you tell us that? Bruh. I'm sorry. My angry shout caused Mion to flinch away, look down, and hang her head uncomfortably.
Keiichi-kun, it's nothing to get angry about. You're scaring Mi-chan.
Huh? Oh, sorry, I shouted at you. Lowered my head in apology. Mion accepted it, collected herself, and continued. According to her, her uncle's relationship with his lover, whom he'd been in Okinomiya, had collapsed. Without anywhere to go, he went back home to Hidemizawa. And on that Sunday, the day of the barbecue, her uncle ran into Satsuko and brought her back to the house. Why did he bring her with him? Because he's a good-for-nothing parasite. Can't even cook by himself, much less do any cleaning.
But that's... You brought Satsuko-chan back home to have her cook and clean?
Yeah, that kinda sucks. Remember what she said, she'd been cleaning the house. I'd met her back at the school gate. A moment later, the pieces fell into place, into a jigsaw puzzle of unease. And as for what the puzzle depicted, and when I saw it from afar, I see the answer clearly. Freaking music was jamming though, my god. Satsuko was locked up at home, and tormented into doing the housework. Those are the rumors. You knew that, why didn't you speak up? Nearly yelled that at Mion, but hastily stopped myself.
Mi-chan, is that true?
I haven't seen it myself, so I don't know if it's true or not. Mion looked down again and, staring at the floor, grew quiet.
Just like last year? Like when they lived with their mean uncle and his wife?
Oh, heck.
But this uncle
is completely helpless when it comes to housework, right? Satsuko's that important, then there wouldn't be any reason to torment her, would there?
Keiji-kun, I don't know what grounds you have for saying that, but you shouldn't be so irresponsible.
Rena clearly and directly got mad at me. You don't know much about this, so don't talk as though you do. Yes, that's clearly what she meant. Jeez. Fine, then do you know something, Rena?
I don't know anything either. I didn't know whether her uncle had been taking her to a house until hearing it just now. But the situation is different from a year ago.
Situation is different? What does that mean?
Satoshi-kun isn't here.
Satoshi really cared about his little sister. He always stuck up for her. He was her shield, so that she would be affected just a little less by their mean aunt and uncle's fighting.
You mean Uncle and Satsuko-chan are the only ones living there now? Can you imagine how stifling that must be, Keiji-kun?
He even only
came back because he broke up with the woman he was staying with. Do you think that person who came back for such an unpleasant reason would be able to treat Satsuko-chan kindly?
He was right. It wasn't easier for me to imagine Satsuko not being tormented. Sorry.
Oh, no, I'm sorry too. I sounded like I was interrogating you, didn't I? Oh.
An awkward atmosphere floated among us. Among us. Stop. Three of us remained silent and just stared at the floor. Finally, we heard the principal's bell ring. Teacher came back with Satsuko and Riki-chan by at her side. All right, we're starting afternoon class. Class president, please. Everybody stand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. How rude of me.
I couldn't read anything from Satsuko's vaguely sheepish expression. But given the clouded look Riki-chan was wearing behind her, it was tough to laugh at the disquieting story I'd heard from Mion. Is it finally the end of the day? Alright! First time in a while everybody's been here. Let's all have a roaring good time with the whole club. Yeah, perfect. Indeed, in times like these, the best thing to do is obviously get rowdy and scheme against one another in club activity.
Just what I was waiting for. Hey, Satsuko-chan, let's play.
There was that game you liked, wasn't there? What was it again? Doesn't matter which. Tell me. Tell me. Mion laughed happily, took a bunch of games out of the club locker and lined them up on the desks. I think that was the first time Mion's ever let someone else decide on a game for her. I could tell she was being especially considerate to Satsuko. Thinking that whatever her circumstances, we could just enjoy our time together as a group. That would be some comfort, some diversion. Satsuko seemed to understand her feelings too, and smiled vaguely, though pleased. But her head slowly moved from side to side.
I'm very grateful, but your feelings are enough. There are many things I need to do, so...
Even Riki-chan hung her head in remorse. Aww, no club. Hey, whoa. Seriously? All the club members are here for once and we're not playing anything? Desertion in the face of the enemy. What was the punishment game for it? What part of the club constitution was that in?
Stop it, Mi-chan. You can't force her to play with us.
Hey, this old man isn't trying to force her or anything. I just thought it would be more fun, for sure, if we did something exciting.
Really, I'm happy you feel that way. Don't worry, next time we meet, you'll see. I'll get you all caught in a gigantic trap. Oh ho ho ho.
Satsuko, while insulting us, still said she couldn't participate in the club today and apologized. She quickly put her things into her bag and pattered out into the hallway, disappearing. It all happened in the blink of an eye.
Satsuko.
Riki-chan stared lonesomely as her friend hurried home, unable to part of the club activities. Silence filled the classroom. Both the cheerful voices of our classmates in the schoolyard and the voices of the cicadas sounded like they were coming from some faraway world. This is boring. Silence was broken by Mion's bitterness as she began putting the games on the desk back into the locker. Everyone just stared absently at Satsuko's seat, now empty. Yeah, skipping club, death penalty.
Rika-chan, maybe you could tell us about it now?
Yeah, Rika-chan definitely was hiding something. Rena made it as gentle a smile as she possibly could and spoke softly to Rika-chan. Without hearing it from her, we pretty much knew the situation at this point. Satsuko's uncle had broken up with his lover and come back home to Hinamizawa, and he had taken Satsuko home and forced her to do all the housework. And that had to be pretty rough on her. Thinking that this was common knowledge to everyone, I skipped to the important part.
Is it really bad?
Maybe Mion and Rena wanted to ask the same question. Nobody spoke. We all just stared, waiting for Rika-chan's reply. Rika-chan still didn't answer us. We were hoping for her to say no, but her silence was a bad enough sign. Last year, was it? It was like this when both her uncle and wife were here, right? Yeah. At the time, they were mostly just being caught between their aunt and uncle fighting. One of the ways we helped out was with the club, by reducing her time at home as much as we could, but...
He's making her do the chores now, so she can't stay up school either.
Shit. Satsuko's not a slave? What do you think you are, ignoring your own inability to live properly and basically putting Satsuko under house arrest? When you think about it, isn't it really strange? We need a lot of circumstantial evidence, but isn't this abuse? Yes? Isn't it? I mean, you can't hold someone back from school, because in the US you get prison time for just not going to school. Can't we notify the police or something?
You're right. If we had evidence she was being abused, I think we could tell the police. And can't we talk to the region's welfare people about this?
Rena and I kept saying police, police, as though it were nothing, but Rion's response sounded like sounded like she thought we were a little naive. It's easy for you to say that. Haven't you thought about the risks of actually getting proof? What do you mean, risks? I think it was 2 winters ago. We reported it to the Child Consultation Center. Told them there was abuse happening and to do something right away. Huh, you did? What happened? Person came as soon as we called. She interviewed Satsuko and Satoshi about what was going on. Then their uncle and his wife, too. I can understand asking Satsuko and Satoshi, but wouldn't it be not so good to talk about to their aunt and uncle? They said they based their judgment on what they heard from both sides. Great of them, wasn't it? So, what did they decide to do? Wait and see. What? What do you mean, wait and see? The uncle really studied up on his stuff. By law, you can't really call it abuse unless someone admits to assault or child neglect. They poked and prodded into Satsuko and Satoshi a lot, but they never left any real marks on them. They were pretty much eating 3 meals a day and had beds. There weren't any recordings or something like that to prove they'd said or done anything to cause them psychological trauma. None of the villagers had actually seen them ever being violent either. No matter how mean you are, you wouldn't act so violent in front of other people. Nobody would.
Then what happened?
The welfare officer apparently went to visit on the same day each week for a while. The aunt and uncle knew they were being watched, though, and didn't torment them in any way that would stand out. Of course, that wasn't the end of it.
You mean they ramped up how malicious they were being?
Leon sighed and nodded. Their aunt was really damn stubborn. She's one of the most spiteful people I've ever known. Apparently, she was doing some pretty disgusting things. Satsuko was like a doll that did nothing but breathe by the end of it. So what? From that conclusion, does that mean they've never should have contacted child welfare in the first place? Understand? Without proof of abuse so clear that anyone could see it, there's nothing we can do. In fact, it might even make the situation worse. We messed up pretty bad. After hearing that, even public organizations, the one thing they thought was dependable, couldn't do anything. Everybody hung in their heads.
In other words, until we have clear evidence of abuse, we shouldn't notify anyone?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, basically, yeah. Considered Satsuko's current situation. She was brought back to her house. It was a little difficult to call that abuse. She was being tormented and forced to do the chores. How she being tormented would be the key, but without concrete evidence, it would be difficult to prove. If she had some kind of external injury, that would work. As far as we could tell from today, she had nothing like that. And being forced to do the chores, that was a bit weak too. There had to be better evidence that she was being, without a doubt, being abused. I know. Her uncle had ignored Satsuko's existence for a whole year and went to live with his lover in town. Didn't that fall under one of the definitions of abuse that Mion had mentioned? Child neglect? Yeah. It's the perfect case of child neglect. What about that, Michan? If her uncle weren't here now, it'd be recognized as child neglect. But he's living with her at the moment, isn't he? They were apart before, but he said something like he had a change of heart and decided to live with her. Then they might just wait and see again. Once we reported it, we would need to be absolutely sure they'd interpret it as abuse. Well, maybe they needed far more concrete evidence, lest we repeat last year's mistake.
It's sad. This means we need to sit quietly and wait for him to be violent towards Satsuko-chan and leave a mark, don't we?
Only plan I could think of was in the end, just watching and waiting. Left me in shock when I realized that it would be the same policy as the officers that had made the situation worse. As Mion said, reporting it to a public agency would be a gamble. If we were going to pick a fight, it would have to be one we couldn't afford to lose. We were gambling, and without enough money, without enough evidence, our defeat would be assured. We took the time to amass enough money that we could be sure of a victory. That would mean pretending we didn't see Satsuko's plight for considerable amount of time. Sorry for bringing this up now, but how was Rika-chan able to live by herself? Rika-chan had lost her parents, if I recall correctly. From what I heard, she had no relatives either. She was forced to live on her own as a result, but her life was unfettered, free of restriction. If she somehow grant that freedom to Satsuko too. I mean, Rika-chan, you're living without any parents, right? Don't kids with no guardians have to go to orphanages and stuff?
Eiji-kun, that's cruel.
I'm not saying it to be mean. I only asked because I thought maybe there would be a hint to saving Satsuko. Rika-chan, sorry if I offended you. Rika-chan shook her head, not particularly disturbed.
Well, you see, because I'm considered the mayor's daughter.
Let me explain. The mayor, the old man Kiyoshi, is Rika-chan's guardian. He got official permission from the governor of the prefecture. Huh? So you're adopted? No, not adopted. You can be someone's guardian without being in the same family.
Oh, I get it. Rika-chan lives by herself, but by law, she's considered to live with the mayor, right?
Yeah, basically. That's how Rika-chan avoids being sent to an orphanage. Actually, it would be child and family services, not an orphanage.
Yep. I don't understand the hard things. But anyway, she's right.
Interesting you should say that, Mion. You can be someone's guardian even though they're in another family? And shouldn't we have the mayor or someone else become Satsuko's guardian? If only in the paper? Then she'd be in the same position as Rika-chan. And she could go back to her old life. Too bad it won't work. I mean, her uncle is supposedly her guardian. Wait a minute. You lost me there. Orphan Nipa! No! What's a guardian exactly anyway? In legal terms, a guardian and a parent weren't necessarily synonyms. So whoever was actually looking after her at home would be considered her guardian. Then her uncle isn't her guardian. He left Setsuko by herself for so long. But if he insists he's her guardian, then that's it. It's been a few days since Satsuko was taken back into her house. Her uncle's been paying for her meals since then, right? Sort of looking after her, so he'd probably insist. Even after he abandoned her for a whole year. It's already been looked at for her a whole year before that. But the mayor doesn't have that kind of history.
So then if both the mean uncle and the mayor requested guardianship at the same time, the uncle would make more sense?
No, but he'd have a better chance. The term guardian refers to the person actually caring for her, right? The uncle actually has a bed and food for her, but the mayor would just have his name. It wouldn't even be a contest. Then shouldn't the mayor just start caring for her for real? He'd be her guardian in name and reality if she did. We just need her to shelter Satsuko. It might lead to her uncle being desperate to take her back, but we'll stubbornly refuse him. It won't be that easy. Satsuko's a grown girl, you know. It's not like giving someone a cat. You're asking him to care for a real person. Then Coach. What about Coach? Coach, I don't know, he's got a lot of money, right? He even said it himself. Even if he's not a real father, Coach could become her guardian. Dude, I wouldn't trust Coach around any child. He would be great at taking care of her. Stop that. Stop thinking of Satsuko like a pet. All you're doing is talking about pushing her onto someone else. You need to think more seriously about how much responsibility it is to care for another human being. Did you ask him? Did you get an actual promise from him that he'd take Satsuko under his care? No, I didn't. But Coach would definitely say yes. Ha! Well, fine. Even considering the 0% possibility of Coach saying it was okay, then what? It still wouldn't work. He couldn't become a guardian all by himself. That's right. Coach, didn't he say it himself? He was alone, so he couldn't do it. Shit, what the hell? Why is being single such a disadvantage in this society? Then all you could do is marry into a wealthy family, couldn't you?
Is there anyone that wealthy in Hinamizawa?
I'm not sure. See? It's not that simple. It's hard to adopt someone. You can't just go into it thinking you'll push that to go onto someone else just for a little while. You're being naive, Kei-chan. Shit, damn it, what the hell? I'm desperately thinking about how to save Satsuko, and all you're saying is no, no. Don't you care about Satsuko at all? Are you even worried about our friend one bit? Ooh, you don't want to say that, Keiichi. You do not want to say that. What do you have to say for yourself? I didn't mean that. But it just won't be that easy, and it's not that difficult a problem. We just need to have some rich people look after Setsuko for a while, that's all. Keiichi, even I know that's a little stupid. Right, what about your family, Mion? You always brag about how great it is being one of the 3 families or whatever, don't you? From what you've said, you must live in a gigantic house. My house? No, that won't happen. My grandma would never allow it. What about your relatives in Okinomiya? What I heard, they're living in a luxury themselves. There's plenty of shops that your relatives manage in town too. Your family are basically millionaires, aren't they? No, that wouldn't work. Going to Okinomiya is even more out of the question. My father, he'd never let that happen, ever. Hey. Normally you act some high and mighty bigwig, and now you're being all spineless? What the hell? Are you just gonna sit by and watch Satsuko suffer? No, I don't, but... I mean, I want to help her as much as you. But that's a different story. How is it a different story? How can you be so cold-hearted? Your friend is in trouble. What are you if you don't rescue her? You're our president. Our club president. Save her. Save her from this crisis. If you don't save her right now, you're not her friend. You're not even human. Oh my god, Keiichi! Stop! I don't even know if you have any humanity left in you. Are you listening to me, Mion? My emotions all exploded out of me. I didn't even give her the chance to say anything in response. I just wanted to make Mion agree with me, even if I had to force her. If she did, Satuko's problems would be solved. Yeah, exactly. She's not human, she's a demon. But you don't want to say that, do you? Pushing her would solve the issue, then I'd push her as much as I needed to. Why aren't you saying anything anymore? I'm asking you, asshole. Oh my god, Keiichi! Well, say something, Mion Sonozaki!
Me?
Mion, looking down with a grim face, began sobbing. Her hands were clenched into trembling fists, and she rubbed her eyes to wipe away the tears. Was what I said actually that mean? This isn't the time to cry. We're in the gambling room right now, so we have something to say. We have to do something to save Satoko. And as I thought that, Rena spoke, her voice cold and incredibly calm.
Keiichi-kun? Mi-chan's family won't work. Then what if we look for another wealthy family? I know someone in Hinamizawa who lives in a nice big house.
Who's that?
Oh, come on. You've got a splendid family and you're leaving it out of things.
But my family? My family is...
You're friends, right? Save her, Keiichi-kun. Mi-chan is so cold-hearted after all. Since you are so considerate towards friends, you should lead by example. Just the three of you are living in that huge house, right? Then you've probably got plenty of spare rooms. You should just give a few of the empty ones to Satsuko-chan. And then her worries would be all over.
What's this? We're done already?
That was pretty quick. Okay, great. Congratulations on solving the problem. Then we done for today? I'm going home. Hooray, hooray! Maybe I'll go treasure hunting. I haven't done that in a while. I was so worried about Satsuko-chan until now that I didn't feel like going to play at all. I wonder what I'll find today. Oh. Say something, will you? Why am I the only one talking? Say something, you bastard! Are you listening, Keiichi Maebara?
Even the cicada seemed to cower in fear. Rena, her shoulders bobbing up and down, and me, who had forgotten to breathe. Mion, whose face had gone completely pale, and Rika-chan, who was keeping silent as if nothing had happened. The atmosphere in the classroom grew tight and stiff, and it petrified us where we stood. Rattle. The sound of the chair as Rena sat back down after having stood up, finally allowing everyone present to take a breath. Rena has shown me just how much I'd hurt Mion.
Rena's scary.
For a few moments, Rika-chan cut into the frozen air.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Rika-chan. Mi-chan, I'm sorry to you too. I don't have to apologize to you, do I, Keiichi-kun?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for being so unreasonable.
Were you saying all that to me before? You said it was while glaring at Mi-chan, so I totally thought you were talking to her.
Rena had such strength that you wouldn't have to imagine it normally. All I did was spout terrible things as a wave of violent fury passed over me. I couldn't contend with her. Mion, I'm sorry. I lost my cool. Come to think of it, I didn't understand what had gotten me that riled up. I thought myself as Satoko's Nini, so I only had good intentions, so I didn't think about that a little... So I'd think about it a little harder than everyone else, and yet... It's okay. You were worrying about everything you had, but all I was saying was that nothing would work. So I'm sorry. I did something wrong too. Yuna rubbed away the tears at the corner of her eyes with her fists and apologized as well. We bowed our heads to each other and looked down without glancing at each other. Someone, I don't know who, heaved a sigh. Satoko being tormented had been known about since last year. How had the tragedy back then saved Satoko? How had they brought it to an end? Right. In the end, nobody could do anything. All they could do was bear it patiently and wait for those agonizing days to end. That's right. The one who brought an end to those crazy days. Those terrible days was some crazy drug addict nobody knew. On the night of Watanagashi last year, the mean aunt had been beaten to death. But it hadn't been done to save Satoko or Satoshi. Right. Really was just a coincidence. Well, you know what you must do, I keep calling him Satoshi! Keiichi! Keiichi, you know what to do. Satoko's friends who needed to do something for her most of all could do nothing. The incident may have been a tragic one, but that's from Satoko's point of view. There was nothing less than a miracle. Yes, a miracle. A miracle one can only wait for. Is waiting all we can do? Not for evidence of abuse, not for something that minor.
Huh? Wait. For what?
A miracle. No one made fun of me for using such a crazy word. Couldn't come up with any solution, so it was the only thing we could do. We're powerless. That one word Mion dropped was the finishing blow. It was hot. My body was sticky with sweat. The worst month. June. Aww. Suggestion, Mion has a gun. I mean, you're right. You're right. Walked forward quite a ways, and then turned right where the rice fields ended. I'd never come here before, so I had no idea where I'd go. I got lost several times, so I may have taken quite a long way around. Maybe I should have gone back home and gotten my bike first. Would have made everyone else worry if I'd asked them, so I asked one of our other classmates where Satoko's actual house was. The house was originally her family's, apparently, not their uncle's and his wife's. The house had been bigger, so they had taken it for themselves. Talk of miracles already, that word has no real meaning yet. The only meaning I know of miracles is homestuck, but I'm pretty sure that that's not the case here. A right here. A right here. Several houses all in a line. Over there? I was visiting Satoko's house, but didn't particularly intend to meet her there. I didn't mean to spawn the enemy, her main uncle either. Maybe I just wanted to be a little closer to her as her Nini. Pretty words, but I didn't know if they were true. If what Tomito-kun and the others told me was right, it'd be this house? When I recognized it, my feet grew heavy. What did I come here for? My motive for coming here was absurd. When Mion said at the end we were powerless, it made me sort of frustrated. Just wanted to do something, anything other than waste the days praying for a miracle. That's what made me come here. But that was all. Even if I were to witness her uncle actually tormenting Satoko, what could I do? Would I act like some comic book hero, punch the guy in the face, and take Satoko away with me? Then live together somewhere far away? Those are ridiculous. I'm powerless. The cicada's voices, raised in chorus, sounded like they were scoffing at me. As though they were saying that I couldn't do anything and wouldn't do anything, that I should go back home. I heard a car approaching, so I got out of its way. The car stopped right behind me, its horn honking shortly once. Annoyed, hadn't I gotten out of the way? I looked behind me, and the familiar face was looking at me out of the driver's seat window. Hey! Coach! What are you doing here? Hello, Maibara-san. How unexpected to meet you all the way out here. Do you live nearby? Me being here wasn't normal. Just as I considered somehow giving him the slip, I didn't notice Satoko sitting in the passenger seat. Satoko? Satoko got out of the car and began unloading a lot of groceries from the trunk.
I happened to run into Coach on my way back from shopping. He said he'd bring me home, so I accepted his offer.
She wouldn't have been able to carry all those groceries on her bike. As Coach spoke, he pulled Satoko's bike out from the back seat where they put it. Grocery bags were big, and there were 4 of them. They all seemed to be packed full and very heavy. Bags. 7 smart? Hey, isn't that a little far to go by bicycle? Looked at the bags and saw they were filled to brim with sake bottles, snacks that you'd eat with sake, and a box of cigarettes. How did she buy all that? Their weight was one thing, but their contents were nothing less than luxury items.
I made it thanks to Coach. He helped me out. It was a little difficult going up those hills.
Satoko gave Coach a smile filled with gratitude, but it was incredibly awkward and even heart-wrenching. Satoko, these groceries aren't for dinner tonight, are they?
Of course not. I do not drink sake and I hate snacks. Of course I don't smoke either.
He made Satoko go to a distant store by herself on her bike so she could buy dumb shit like this. What was the uncle doing right now anyway? Must have been working up a good sweat at this very moment if he needed to send Satoko out by herself, right? Not, then how much had Satoko suffered for no reason? I hadn't intended to voice my feelings, but they might have made it into my face. Coach might have noticed because she clapped me on the shoulder. Just then, one of the house windows clattered open in the face of a vulgar man, the very sight of which made me immediately avert my eyes, emerged from within it. There was no self-introductions necessary. My gut told me that this was the uncle in question. First thing out of his mouth should have been words of gratitude for Satoko. Satoko! You left the heat for the sake on when you left, you half-wit.
I'm sorry, but you told me to go right away.
You idiot! All that brewing I did for nothing! Idiot!
I'm sorry.
Satoko miserably apologized over and over, bowing again and again. She could be perfectly described as a small animal. I had no idea what was happening. Satoko finished shopping for all this heavy stuff that wasn't even for dinner. She only managed to come back because she ran into Coach as he drove her home. If she hadn't been found by him, she surely still be by herself, panting and moaning, pedaling her bicycle up that steep hill. What was with those words, those horrible, sleazy words that he said to Satoko? In what country's dictionary did he tell him to say such things to a young girl who just finished shopping? My anger, of course, wouldn't reach him. The uncle displayed no interest in me, instead shouting at Coach. Oh, if it isn't the Dr. Urie. Hello. Why don't you come on inside too? We're in the last round, so you can get in right away. 100 yen per 1,000 points, and anything goes. No, I'll pass, thank you. I just ran into Satoko-chan and gave her a lift is all. I'll be leaving now. Ah, nah, come play around. You've got a lot of money, yeah? I didn't even understand what her uncle and Coach were talking about, but I knew one thing for sure. None of what he just said had been to thank Satoko in any way. Satoko, could you bring us the damn snacks? Starting to get those beers chilled too. Go get us some cold ones from the fridge. Oh my god. I'd rather have nails getting hammered into fingers than this. Yeah, it is pretty horrible. Pretty horrible. Tet-chan, you're so harsh on her. She looks so sad. You should take better care of her. That's how I gotta treat her. She's been like this since she was with my bro. Spoil her and she ain't gonna listen to a damn thing you say. Shit. Whatever, it's your draw, Tet-chan. Tsubaki-chan declared Richi, too. Sorry. What? You and Richi again, Tsubaki? It looked like he wasn't just her uncle. Some of his friends were over. Hey, wait. What was he... No, what were they doing? Flinging rude words left and right, making Satoko shop for your beer? What were they doing?
My uncle's friends came from town and they're playing mahjong. He told me to prepare dinner for them as well.
What the hell? Mahjong? He called his friends over for mahjong. They were too busy playing, so they sent Satoko to buy them a crap load of booze from a faraway store. The first thing he said to her was how she left the gas on. What the hell? What does that guy think he's doing? He'll get lost in some dumb game of mahjong and sent Satoko to buy all this stuff. Even though Coach was listening, he pretended he wasn't. There was a line of heavy-looking shopping bags lined up on the ground next to the trunk. Maibara-san, you help too, please. You're a boy, you get to carry this heavy one. Coach, you're gonna let this slide? This is completely... Coach pretending he hadn't heard that violent outburst either. I thought about it later, his reaction might have been the best thing he could do in that situation. I'll carry 2 of them myself. Come on. Help us carry them, please. Bags were packed to the brim with bottles of sake and bar snacks. They were so heavy. So filthy. So unfair. They weren't just heavy in terms of weight. They made me feel mortified. That thing could have been heavier than that.
Ichi-san, there's no need to push yourself. I'll carry it.
Satoko mistook my biting back at the humiliation as grimacing under the weight and offered to help. Stupid. Don't underestimate me. Satoko had never looked down on my physical strength in the slightest.
Coach, I'm sorry for you too. I must be heavy.
No, not at all, answered Coach, smiling vaguely. Oh gosh dang it, the freaking audio cut out, didn't it? Yeah, why did the audio cut out? Or maybe it just cut out anyway. Fully. But I, and I alone, knew. Coach was an adult, so he knew how to keep his feelings from showing. There was even more angry. There was even more anger than I was feeling burning deep in his eyes. Well, it is heavy. Yeah, the music stopped. Nothing ends well when the music cuts. Exactly, that's what I'm worried about. Shit. Wasn't very far to the doorstep of Satoko's house, but the bag squeezed my palms and started leaving red marks. Ugh. Fury welled up in me and the back of my throat stung. But even all this came gushing out, it wouldn't solve anything. So, just slightly gritting my teeth was as much as I could do.
Really, thank you so much. Both of you. You really helped me there.
When we carried them to the back door, Satoko said that was enough. Occasionally we'd hear the repulsive laughing of her uncle and her friends from within. My insides would seethe. I knew they weren't ridiculing us, and that was why it made me so mad. They made Satoko shop for all this heavy, selfish stuff, and then ignored her, and laughed almost amongst themselves as they pleased. It was deeply aggravating. Of course, Coach had to have felt the same way. But if he accidentally let his feelings slip out into his face, he'd only cause Satoko more worry. He knew all that, and spoke coolly, as if to say he didn't care. Not at all. I'm happy I could be a bit of help to you. If there's anything else I can help with, please tell me.
Yes. I really am happy you feel that way.
That he feels that way. Those words. Sad. Satoko herself was sad and resigned that we could only help her so much. She was right. No matter how much Coach or I wanted to help Satoko, this was as much as we could do. I felt absolutely ashamed of not having the power to help her any more than this. Burning, boiling emotions were bubbling up within me and rising into my throat. Trembling all over, I almost started to cry from the fury. Me too. If there's anything I can do, I'll help you whenever you need. So, hang in there. Wanted to, at least, give her those tried words, saying I'd help her whenever she wanted.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm happy that you came all the way here when you didn't need to.
Satoko seemed to have guessed what I was doing in a place like this, when my house was on the opposite direction from school. Alright, should get going. They're drunk right now, so there's no telling what they'll get mad at you for. She felt guilty getting us involved after we'd helped her. Oh, right, so that's her saying that.
They're drunk right now, so there's no telling what they'll get mad at you for.
No. Yeah. Because she wanted to be the only one to suffer this misfortune. How it looked, and it hurt. I handed my supermarket bag over to Satoko, and then I noticed on the back of Satoko's hand was something that looked like a bruise. Hey Satoko, what the heck is that bruise? I knew as much as anyone how transparent that sounded. I didn't need to hear from Satoko to know how this bruise came to be.
I just slipped on the stairs and hit it a little. Please pay it no mind.
You're lying. Coach nudged me in the back, and then put his index finger to his mouth to chide me for being so loud.
Really, thank you so much. Until tomorrow. I really hope we can see each other at school.
That's not what I'm talking about. I asked you how you got that bruise on your hand. The evening glow finally got to a point where I could see the other concealed oval-shaped bruises and traces of swelling on her neck and her legs and other places too.
I fell down the stairs.
The very moment my violent rampaging emotions were about to burst their way out of my throat, I found my mouth being tightly clamped down on. Coach was pressing down on my mouth from behind, wrapping me around me tightly with his hands. Because of that, I couldn't say anything. I could only groan, which I did. That was all I could do. I needed to expel the magma sitting deep within me, because otherwise I'd surely explode into a million pieces at that very moment. So I groaned, from my mouth, from my whole body, while heat fell in drops from my eyes. I groaned and groaned and groaned to the point of exhaustion. I wrung absolutely everything out of myself. Even having lost my voice, I still wringing it all out. I understand how you feel. I really do, Mayabara-san. Please, please just endure it for now. Please, I'm asking you, Mayabara-san. Endure it for now? And then what, huh? What would happen to her, to Satoko? Endure it for now, then what? What would happen to her, to Satoko? Her body and her mind were wounded, and she was being made to suffer like this. Can you not even let me howl in vain at that? Is that it, Coach? Are we this powerless? So powerless that we can't even fucking scream from the bottom of our hearts? It almost made me cry, I'll be honest. It almost made me heckin' cry. Voices of the Higurashi made me calm down. I didn't know how long it had been. Satoko abruptly gave me a slight bow.
Thank you very much, Keiichi-san.
Satoko.
You looked a lot like my real Nini just now. My real Nini may not be here anymore, but I still have another Nini named Keiichi-san.
Yeah, you got it. I'm your Nini. And when you're in pain, I'll help you no matter what. Your Nini will rescue you for sure. Satoshi Hojo, you fucking idiot. Not now, then when? Satoko, she's never been in more pain in her life. If her Nini doesn't save her now, then when will he? Why did you run away? Why did you abandon her? Why did you leave Satoko behind? You don't have any right to call yourself Satoko's Nini. I won't run away. Huh? I definitely won't run away. I won't run away and abandon you like Satoshi did. No way. I will not abandon you. Slip. Tears trickled down from Satoko's eyes. And then she narrowed her eyes into a smile.
Goodbye, Nini.
Satoko took her right hand and awkwardly waved to me.
I'll be alright. My Nini now help me so much. I'll be okay. I'll do my best until tomorrow. I'll be okay. So, for today, this is goodbye.
There was no way that I could say bye, see you tomorrow. Then from the inside the house came a throaty, disgusting voice. Satoko! Could you bring us the snacks already?
Okay, Nini. Get going already. I'll be fine now. Hurry.
Let's go, Mayabara-san. Staying any longer like this would be a bother to Satoko-chan.
Coach, Nini's house is a little farther away. I'm sorry to ask you this, but could you take him home?
Yes, I'll do that. Coach grabbed me by my collar and with the strength I hadn't imagined him having started dragging me away. And I, unable to oppose him, started getting farther away from Satoko. She waved her hand to us, expression still dark, and disappeared. Through the back door. Coach got into the car first and then turned around on the narrow path and brought the passenger side door around for me. I know how you feel so well it hurts. No, I can understand it even more than you. Right now, just for now, please endure it. I understood exactly how you feel, so please endure it. You don't. I know already. I'm sorry. Thank you for before. Meekly got into the passenger seat. Car accelerated quietly, and Satoko's house grew farther and farther away in the rearview mirror. I made a wide turn, and I couldn't see her house anymore. Your house that far away? In the other direction from the school, isn't it? I didn't bother to reply. I would have been hard-pressed to give him an answer as to why I was at Satoko's house. Coach didn't say anything more either. For a while, the two of us were silent. Only sounds from the gravel sprang over the road as we drove. Remembered how Ren said things were different than last year. At the time, she had Satoshi with her. Satoshi protected Satoko. So that less of the sparks fell onto her. But now Satoshi isn't here. Yes, that's the unfortunate truth. Coach seemed to understand what I really meant when I said that. Terribly sad, cruel story. But there is still limits to our resolve, our efforts, and our assistance. It sounded like an excuse, but he was right. Even if Coach and I wanted to be people Satoko could depend on, that was all. Yeah, but does the car have AC? Does the car have AC? It ended at the front door. No matter how much I shouted that I would be her Nini, no matter how much I shouted that I wouldn't abandon her, no matter how much Satoko called me Nini, I couldn't do any more than that. Where on earth could Satoshi have gone? Right, Satoshi was another story. Her actual brother, Satoshi. He was in a position to protect her far, far better than we ever could. That was the cold, sad truth of the massive gulf between Satoshi and us. I wonder what he's been doing lately. Satoshi left home. I don't know why. Maybe it was because of Yashiro-sama's curse, or he disappeared or something. In any case, he wasn't beside Satoko now. The time Satoko needed him to protect her most, he wasn't there. Why isn't he here? Satoko needs him now more than ever. A lot of people talk about Yashiro-sama's curse. The only thing I can say is that he ran away. One of my friends said that one day he just never came back. He ran away without even leaving so much as a note for his sister. Satoshi-kun had been doing part-time jobs a lot. At the time, Satoko-chan really wanted this huge stuffed animal. It ended up costing a lot, so he was doing all sorts of part-time jobs in order to afford it. He felt so strongly about it. Everyone was whispering at how he at least wanted to get his sister a nice birthday present, and she was being made to live such a pitiful life with her uncle and his wife. In the end, he didn't use his savings for a birthday present for Satoko. Satoshi-kun disappeared, and the police looked long and hard. Found that Satoshi-kun had withdrawn all of his savings on himself the day he left. After checking all over, they began to think that maybe he'd use the savings to go to Tokyo. Tokyo? For what? Again, all I can say is that he ran away. Saved up all that money so he could run away? He was that selfish? But how could he just leave Satoko behind? If he was going to run away, he should have brought Satoko with him. Even now, Coach was calm. He wasn't trying to pour any oil on the fire of my anger at all. He just waited until my anger naturally subsided. After listening to the gravel being crushed under the wheels for a little while, Coach spoke abruptly. Please understand, Satoko-chan left behind arrived at the same conclusion. I'm a burden on my brother, and that's why he abandoned me. He didn't take her with him when he left. How terrible must Satoko have felt, being betrayed by her brother she loved so much. Theory. Teppei took the money to cover debts and killed Satoshi. I agree. That is also my leading theory. But Satoko was a very strong person. Of course, she had the support of close friends too, but that was how she regained her smile. I recalled how Satoko had spoken of Satoshi so brightly when I was eating dinner with her and Riki-chan a few days ago. At the time, I didn't think any more of it, other than how pleasant their sibling love had been. Now that I think about it, I realized it was like she was peering into the distance from atop a pile of tragic perseverance. She said Satoshi-kun would come back for sure, and that when he did, she wanted to see how she was no longer a burden. Satoko isn't a burden. She's way better at day-to-day living than me, and she can do pretty much anything. I mean, she might fall behind Rena or Rika-chan in certain aspects. She's way more of an adult than most people. As a result of her having worked so hard, since she didn't know when Satoshi would come home. Her efforts were so painful. While she lived with Rika-chan, Rika-chan taught her how to handle everything flawlessly. All that so she could have welcomed back Satoshi at any time. So that she could show him she wasn't ashamed. So when is Satoshi going to come back? I asked Coach, but he knew he wouldn't be able to answer. In any case, Satoshi ran away. Left Satoko and ran away from Hinamizawa. Someone said that when you leave Hinamizawa and run away, Oyashiro-sama's curse gets you, right? Then that made sense. Satoshi running away and his disappearance, that would obviously mean people thought it would be the curse, right? They could smile, as though it were his own fault, as though he got what he deserved. Hey, Oyashiro-sama, whoever you are, Satoshi didn't vanish because he ran away. You demoned him away with your curse, right? Didn't you? That's not what happened, then I couldn't forgive him. When did Satoshi run away? The night of Watanagashi Festival last year, when their aunt was killed by that deviant. It was a few days after that, on Satoko-chan's birthday. Okay. My theory, he killed the aunt. He killed the aunt and then ran away to, like, flee. On Satoko's birthday? Bang. Slammed my heads onto the dashboard in front of me with all my might. Satoshi, of all the days, he could have chosen to run away. Their aunt just died a few days before, didn't she? All your days of suffering were about to end, weren't they? You were just about to start thinking about a new life, weren't you? It's wrong to be happy about someone dying, but for Satoko and her brother, her birthday had come at a critical turning point. The mean uncle had fled town and the siblings would be left alone. They should have been able to be happy about that. Satoko's birthday. Satoko was probably waiting for her brother to return the whole time. Waiting for her brother to return whenever he did. Waiting for a bated breath for her brother to return. Her hopes and dreams to her new life to come growing even larger. But no matter how long she waited, he didn't come back. He didn't even contact her. Satoko, trembling in anticipation of a great present. Just when? When would she have to face the cold, terrible truth? Satoshi, you fucking idiot. I could feel my blood rising to my head in my anger at Satoshi. I was frustrated. I was aggravated. I couldn't forgive him. Satoko still respected and adored her brother, and yet he so heartlessly betrayed her. Such a person wouldn't just come back. Now, when he was most needed. Yes, no one would protect her. Not even her real brother, Satoshi. So when she started to see you as her Nini, I was happy. Huh? Wouldn't Teppei and the aunt fight a lot? Wouldn't be surprised if Teppei did it. Yeah, you're right. That is also an explanation. Big vamp stretch. Anyway. Huh? I pray for Satoko-chan's happiness as well, but I have a position in society and a job to do every day. I have little time that I can devote to Satoko-chan, but you're different. You go through school with her, and you're closer to her in Satoshi-kun in age. I know you think you can only do so much. You're in a position where you can give Satoko-chan a hand much better than I can. So I want to help her enough for the both of us. That's what I wish for. But that's... Coach, I could... Of course, with my job skills, there are plenty of things I could help her with. Only I can help her with. But in the same way, there are things that only you can do for her. What I want to say is, we should both perform in every way we can. Is that a little too complicated? Coach added that, but I shook my head in response. When I heard him say he had job skills, it reminded me that he was an adult in a different position than all of us. Maybe I should ask him about it. Oh, Coach, do you know about laws? No, I know even less than the average person. Why? I thought back to when I argued with Mion and the others about Satoko. Our children's argument only left us with the conclusion that we had to wait and see. What would an adult think? Well, what was it? The child welfare law? As an emergency measure to secure the safety of a juvenile, they can force him or her to separate from their parents. They can do that? So then we could rescue Satoko from her uncle right away. Satoko-chan might not want that. Unless the person being abused wants shelter. Anyway, it doesn't go that far. Satoko doesn't want it? Why? Ghost didn't answer me. I didn't know why he didn't. It was clear as day Satoko's uncle was being violent and treating her like a slave. So then why? I clamped down on my frenzied emotions and waited intently for a coach to answer. But he never did. Usually it's because they would come after the victim even more harshly if they said anything, right? But I feel like she would just get protection in this way. Unless she was protecting someone else from getting hurt. I don't know. It wasn't like he was pretending he hadn't heard me. If I had to say, it was more like he wanted to explain, but couldn't put it in the right words. Satoko-chan probably thinks of this abuse as a trial. A trial? Isn't it some weird religion we're talking about? You might know this, but Satoshi-kun always looked out for Satoko-chan. He always relied on him, almost as though she was utterly dependent on him. I'd known for a while that Satoshi had always protected Satoko from their aunt and uncle. That was his duty as an older brother, not something to worry about. I think that may have traumatized her. Maybe she'd figured that depending so heavily on her brother had made him hate her. For Satoko, the current situation was a retelling of the story a little over a year ago. This time, Satoshi wasn't here. So I believe that now, she thinks of something like this. She wants to overcome this trial by herself without relying on anyone else. And that if she doesn't grow strong, then Satoshi-kun will never return. Now that he mentioned it, Satoko never said a word about how hard it had been before. I figured she was being threatened not to talk about it, but talked about it with everyone, and we were wondering if we should report it to the Child Consultation Center. I have heard that a social worker was visiting Satoko-chan last year. Yes, in the year that he decided to wait and see, thought that maybe that made her get tormented even more. That was apparently, Satoko-chan reported it herself, and as a result the abuse worsened, but it was just kept out of sight. She was under even more torment, and the burden on Satoshi-kun for protecting her rose considerably. Huh? But Satoko, she wouldn't be thinking it's her own fault for reporting it, would she? Coach nodded quietly. Satoko-chan probably would either hate it if you suggested reporting it, the abuse, or feign courage, and say you didn't need to. And even if you reported it in secret, she'd probably insist to the social worker that she wasn't being abused. Satoko always acts tough and doesn't readily admit defeat, so I can imagine that easily. There are strict limitations on this emergency measure. The Child Consultation Center would need permission from both the court and from the concerned party. If the abuse was known to the public, they could forcibly shelter her even if she denied it. For Satoko-chan, that would probably mean losing. This isn't about winning or losing. It's real life. Satoko, she's... Back on topic. After they placed her under protection, she would get sent to a child care institution or the like. She would basically be living there, so it would mean moving away. But the change in residence could become a change in schools too. That changing schools, it has to be done. That's what it'll take for her to be safe. Satoko-chan understands all those things. All the more reason for her not to want it. Why? Because Satoko-chan's reason for living is to wait at that house for Satoshi to return. He was a husk, an empty shell after being abandoned by her brother. How did she find a reason to live? Try looking at it from Satoko-chan's point of view rather than your own. Felt like he was trying to confuse me with that hard-to-understand roundabout way of talking so unique to adults. The point was that I couldn't do anything about Satoko wanting to stay in that house, and that I should watch until she gives in. In the end, no matter what I said, Coach himself was saying to wait and see. I don't understand. What? If I feel that Satoko is really in danger, I will report it without asking anyone's opinion. She might not be happy with the result, and she might hate me for it. But I believe it will ultimately be what brings Satoko's happiness. Coach turned to me and gazed fixedly into my eyes. It was written all over his face. He was shocked, what such a young kid had said. Why would you go that far? Coach, no, rather, normal adults might not have understood. But I taught him the creed and the values that I believed in. Satsuko was my friend, and I am Satsuko's Nini. Isn't that enough of a reason? I stared at him with a will strong and unbreakable as steel, as his eyes betrayed a tiny bit of unrest. No, of course that's enough. We were silent for a little while, until finally Coach said only that. Didn't we make a promise? I'm sorry. What? That we weren't going to ever let Satsuko cry. We made a vow on that day of the barbecue party. I didn't think about it hard at all, but Coach and I still made a promise that we wouldn't ever let Satsuko cry. Coach gave a dry grin of regret, immediately apologizing for not remembering. One way or another, when he grinned like that, it made me think of his enthusiasm for saving Satsuko. It's a tiny bit smaller than mine. He lightly hit the brakes, making a skidding noise, and leaned forward. Could it be your house is there? Oh right, Mayabara-san would live at the Mayabara residence, wouldn't he? Before I knew it, we were almost to my house. Man, this is deep, man. This is actually deep. Yeah, in a way, it is harsher than the other chapters, huh? We've received new tips. Case 31. Tips, tips, tips. Let's hope it's not a sad tip, even though it probably is. Case 31. December 1st, 1981. Prefecture Juvenile Welfare Division Report. I knew this was coming. Do not view, do not duplicate. Case 31, November 20th. Satsuko Hojo, blank years old. Residence, Hinamizawa Village, Shishibone. Consultation circumstances. Anonymous telephone SOS of child abuse. Abuse situation. Anonymous claims that a female child is suffering physical abuse by adoptive parents or guardians. Family structure? Blank marks abusers. Adoptive father, adoptive mother, older brother, child in question. In June 1980, the child's parents died in an accident, and she was given to her uncle on her father's side, her father's younger brother. Child Consultation Center's response. On the day of anonymous telephone consultation, the center called for the child's school and asked of her situation. The next day, the welfare officer on duty visited the child's home and heard what they had to say. Both adoptive parents agreed to the center's coaching. Contacted anti-abuse network in the city. As part of the suggested coaching, the district welfare officer in the area began visiting for coaching at fixed intervals. Scroll noted below is stable to the report. Related information from former officer Mr. W. Referred in 1977 document D23 number 44. Asked Chief Investigator F from the city's education consultation offices. He is well informed about it. I don't know what that last note is supposed to be. But, yeah, it's pretty understandable. But, man. Like, in a way, it's a lot sadder. A lot sadder than what we've previously had to read. I don't know much about those types of situations. I only know what the education system tells me about it. But yeah, that's a rough situation that she's in. And if I'm honest, I believe Keiichi is on the right track, though. I mean, forcibly removing her from the situation is the best course of action. You know? But, yeah. I do know some spoilers about what's going to happen this chapter, but I won't say anything. I won't say nothing. But let me just say it one more time. That'll be it for today. Thank you guys for listening. I'll have a good day, have a good night wherever you are. And I'll see you guys next time, alright? Bye-bye. Bye-bye.